Hey guys, I'm Fainer. Welcome back to the channel. And a few days ago I put out a video that was my top 25 metal albums from the month of February, but I listened to just as much non-metal stuff. So yeah, here's my top 15 albums from genres which aren't metal. As always, there's a Spotify playlist in the description with my favorite track from each album, but if you want to stick around for a bit, I'm going to go over each one briefly and explain what I like about it. Also, a couple of these have full reviews, so I've linked those in the description as well. 15, we have Teenage Wrist with Earth is a Black Hole. Now, Teenage Wrist kind of sits at this weird intersection of shoegaze and indie rock and pop punk and like modern hard rock, and I appreciate how seamlessly they managed to fit all of those sounds into this album. I think the fact that they're such a chimera allows fans from any one of those genres to discover them, and then perhaps also develop a taste for the other genres as well. 14, we have Wally with Mud Puppy. This is some dream pop, electro pop from a husband and wife duo. They have a really innocent and DIY sound that captures the fun of just sort of goofing around and making music for the simple joy of it. 13, we have Cloud Nothings with The Shadow I Remember. Yuck broke up this month, so, pour one out for that band. But Cloud Nothings is here to fill the void in our hearts. This is some good old-fashioned noise rock, but I also have always gotten a little bit of an emo vibe from these guys. There's nothing I can point at and be like, oh yeah, it's because of that right there. But yeah, I definitely think there are some trad emo influences going on here. 12, we have Sano Ex Machina with Osaka Emo Violence Generation. This is power violence fused with screamo and like some experimental noise music as well. It is a harsh, raw, abrasive listen that will probably only be appealing to fans of extreme music, but I found it to be an innovative and engaging sound. 11, we have Florida Georgia Line with Life Rolls On, and music critics love to hate pop country, but honestly I think that's a pretty shitty practice that disrespects people who identify with this kind of music. This is a solid, though somewhat over the top honestly, release for this genre, and it is going to be enjoyed by millions and millions of people. And I'm not the kind of person who's going to talk smack on it just because it's made for working class Americans. If you've ever had a fire in someone's backyard after work, drinking like Busch Light, then you know how much fun this kind of music can be. And as a person who works in industrial manufacturing, I know I'm going to be enjoying these songs with some of my coworkers in that exact setting. 10, we have Scarlord with Doom 2. This is a trap album. I like how just aggressive and unrelenting and somewhat shrill, really, Scarlord's sound is. It doesn't quite reach the industrial fury of Ghostmain, but it's a cool sound in the same territory. Now, I will say there's not a huge amount of diversity on this album, so I've mostly just been going back to a few tracks. 9, we have Mogwai with The Love Continues. Mogwai are probably the biggest name in instrumental post-rock, and it is for very good reason. This album is pretty diverse as far as post-rock goes, and it feels to me a bit like a sampler of everything the band can do. 8, we have Carpetgarden with The Way He Looks, and this is very much bedroom pop, but I think it's also taken some plays out of the emo rap playbook. In particular, he's got a very monotone, sing-song sort of vocal style that reminds me a lot of Garden. The subject matter here is largely about struggling with romance as a young LGBTQ person, so it's definitely a very gay album. But I found it to be a fun and touching portrayal of current Gen Z culture. 7, we have Pale Waves with Who Am I? Pale Waves takes their goth pop core and infuses it with just about every alternate rock trend of the last 40 years. I have a full review of this one if you'd like to hear some more. 6, we have The Hold Steady with Open Door Policy. This is indie rock, but probably not in the way you're thinking. It has a very monotonous vocal style that focuses on meter and cadence rather than melody, and so it feels a bit like slam poetry in that regard. This album tells a whole lot of stories and has a bit of a heartland rock attitude to it. It doesn't really sound like folk or Americana, but it hits you in the same way. 5, we have Black Dresses with Forever in Your Heart. This is an experimental industrial duo. They released a critically acclaimed album last year, but then somewhat abruptly left the music scene after receiving quite a bit of hate for being trans women. But then out of absolutely nowhere, they released a new album on Valentine's Day, and it picks up right where the last one left off. Now, this isn't a particularly accessible album, but it's certainly one that will interest the music nerds like me. 4, we have Mod Sun with Internet Killed the Rockstar. This is a pop-punk album that shows Travis Barker isn't the only trick the pop-punk revival has. This thing is just packed front to back with stadium rock, pop-punk anthems. And if you're wondering what Avril Lavigne is up to these days, she's doing features on this album and dating Mod Sun. Also, I have a full review on this album. 3, we have Slowthai with Tyron. I put the track Maza on the playlist, and just nothing has gotten stuck in my head harder than that song. You're going to be saying Mazayin for days after you listen to that. And I think it's really the feature on it from Waluigi, which makes that track just the like wah, 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 wah. Mazayin. When I'm putting no money, don't go wah, wah. Yeah, so joking aside, I think even if you're not that big of a hip-hop person, you're still going to like this album. Slowthai really avoids some of that like macho bravado that can be off-putting to some people. And he's just a shy little goofball from the UK who's trying to make really fun music that also has some depth to it upon closer inspection. 2nd, we have Emptiness with Veed. See if I can get a glare off that. Man, yeah, no, it's not a pretty album cover. Yeah, this album is terrible. I kind of hate it. I don't think I've ever listened to something so clearly designed to induce mental illness. Like, the vocals just feel like constant, malicious, intrusive thoughts, and the soundscapes are they just make you feel total nihilistic existential dread. Also, there's a bit of like a medical theme going on, which you can, get from the cover, but also, one second, here is the lyric sheet that comes inside of it, and it's got, pictures of like x-rays and like a bunch of teeth, and yeah, there's like a mausoleum and like some like burn victims and dead babies and just all those sort of goodies. Also on the opening track, there's the pumping of a breathing machine that serves as like the bass drum or like just the percussive cadence setting beat of the song. And yeah, there is some disturbing stuff on this album. Seriously guys, this album is all the voices in your head which tell you nothing is worth doing in life, and this is the album every depressive, suicidal black metal band is trying to create. In retrospect, maybe I should have put it in my metal video so as to not, like, inflict it upon some hapless pop-punk fan or something like that, but I don't know, I guess just consider yourself warned. Also, it's not metal sonically, it's closer to, like, Radiohead or something. And the lyrics are all in French, if that matters. That probably matters, I think. Alright, album of the month time. I churn through hundreds of albums every month and thousands each year, looking for albums which just magically click with me. And here we have one such album. It is Katy Kirby with Cool Dry Place. This is nothing more than a humble collection of 9 post-folk songs which Katy put her absolute heart and soul into, and I utterly adore it for that reason. I struggled for 2 weeks writing that review, and it's also the main reason why this video is so late. Alrighty, that's all I've got for today. As always, I know I missed some great albums this month. I have to go fast and I can't address everything. So, hey, shout out anything you liked in February and we'll have a little chat about it in the comments. Also, if you're still around, I'd appreciate if you could hit the like button. It just helps more people discover my content. So, that's it. I'm done. That's all I got. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.